345 ka shil original ka chon ka shil dan khania ma se ama dewina ron kal theilawani voina kan tu soi tu tur hi Officer Bruce Beardsley ania District 1 atia Rockville atan hianin Rockville hi district pakhat anita Silver Spring te omatikhanin district paruk an omatia chuan ani hi Community Engagement Division atanga local ania tin kalom chu honorarium hi imamo donem katia he chu kan la theilo atia chuan a free in tour on soidona achunga kan lom tak takani. So we thank you, Officer Beardsley, for coming today. We're very eager to hear what you have to tell us, and I'm sure we'll learn a lot. So thank you so much, Officer Bruce Beardsley, everyone.
Can you hear me? Is it working? Okay, thank you. Hey, appreciate you having me. Okay, just for a quick rundown, Montgomery County is about 1 million people. We have literally every religion, background, language you could possibly think of for several reasons. Embassies, World Bank, a lot of stuff going on here. So there's a lot of different perspectives and different mentality and different way we raise our families and all that kind of stuff. So we blend that all in the American melting pot. And then we try to work together with everybody as best we can. Unfortunately, that's not always successful. Ergo, we have police departments and other civil organizations and government organizations to help you out. Today, I've been asked here to talk about drugs more specifically. It's an interesting dynamics with the drugs. Perceptions have changed dramatically in the United States and what we perceived about them. There was a time culturally, back in the 60s, the hippies and the Cultural Revolution kind of thing where marijuana and stuff and other drugs came on scene. And there's a lot of experimentation with the youth. And society at large didn't really accept that, but a younger generation did. Flash forward to now, it's kind of come back a little bit, where there's more of an acceptance for marijuana. The state has recently, within the last year, made it legal to use for medical purposes. Because of that, we've seen a huge increase in experimentation, youth, people encounter it. If you've driven any cars in Montgomery County and you smell, if you don't know what it smells like, it's more like a skunk smell, or it's just a different odor. You'll notice it in a lot of the vehicles now at intersections. We have entire apartment complexes that you can smell it in and stuff like that. And understand there's absolutely nothing we can do as a police department about that because it's now legal in the state of Maryland in a recreational sense. It came in as a medical sense, it's now a recreational sense. Add that to the fact that every single high school, you can find it in every single high school, okay? I'm not saying everybody in high school does drugs. It just means they have the ability to find it if they desire it, okay? So you just have to have that discussion with your family, your nieces, your nephews. Hey, understand, it's out there. It's just like alcohol. You talk to your young people about alcohol, you need to talk to them about drugs as well, okay? Just don't assume they're gonna know everything and they'll have it all worked out. Because unfortunately, we have this thing called the internet. And the internet doesn't always send truthful information. Unfortunately, some people feel that a lot of it is true, or things that will be posed as truthful. For instance, TikTok had a challenge where they told people that if they took so many pills of an allergy medicine, they would get a high or have a psychedelic thing. The reality scientifically is it put him into a seizure and killed him. But he saw this on TikTok, thought it was real, and tried it out. So that's why we ask the families, the community, the organizations to have these conversations up front at a young age and just say, hey, what are your thoughts? And if they're like, oh, it's this, it's that, and if it's not correct, you just go, oh, what about this? Or you try to explain it to them that way. There's literature going out about drugs and all that stuff. And the other thing, you as a family are responsible for your family. You're responsible for your children's actions. You're responsible until they're 18 and then they're on their own. If they still live in your house, obviously it's your rules, okay? Have the conversations when you drive with your friends. Have your friends over. Go to your friend's house. You know, maybe your friend's family feel that that's okay and that's something their family wants to do. And maybe that's not okay with your family. So you just have to have that conversation with them if they go there and experience it, what their decision could be. They're not a bad person if they decide to do these things. It's just you have to decide as a family where you want to be with this kind of stuff. Okay, and as far as our involvement is, we're not involved in that kind of stuff anymore because that's the legal stuff. However, there are terms like gateway drugs and stuff like that have been used. Typically, the people that I've dealt with that are on heroin, cocaine, crack, and all those pills, literally every single one of them started with marijuana. Okay, and then that got boring, that got uninteresting, they're looking for the new high, looking for the new experiment, and then they move on. Okay, most people don't start with cocaine or heroin, they started with marijuana, and that's the way, or possibly alcohol. So again, that comes back to, if you also talk to them, they didn't have good conversations with their family, they typically didn't have strong family bonds, they're kind of on their own, doing their own thing. And some people are very independent in this world. You can, at 16, they know what they're doing. They can drive cars, they can cook, they can clean, they can take care of themselves. Others, it may be like 25 until they start knowing how to clean and cook and take care of themselves. It depends on the person, it depends where they are in life, it depends on their friends. Okay, but the bottom line is you got to have that conversation. And for the younger people out there, the older people don't necessarily know. Okay? The younger people, you might have to go help them, show them how to work the remote. You might have to show them how to work an app. You might have to show them how to work something on the computer, okay? But know that if you approach your family with questions, you're probably going to get an honest answer. If you ask your friends, they're going to tell you what they think they know. You may have stupid friends, and that might cause a problem, okay? And the internet, unfortunately, it's whatever you want it to be, but half the stuff out there is wrong or fake or uninformed, So if you're going to get stuff on the internet, at least get a couple sources. Just don't rely on one article or one video. If you think it's whatever it is to you, then look for other videos to collaborate. Is that actually true? Is that actually what's going on? Does that make sense to you? And remember, everybody has ramifications. Current stuff in social media, if you notice, some people came out with political decisions, and corporations are now telling we're not going to hire you. So on the internet side, be careful what you say or talk about, because employers will look that up. And if they see you doing things that don't fit the corporate model, they're not going to hire you. So again, be very cautious on what you do and how you talk about things in videos and stuff like that. Now, as far as drugs for overdoses, we've seen probably about 100% increase in overdoses since everything went legal. As far as the main drug in these overdoses, it's probably about 95% fentanyl. If you don't know what fentanyl is, it's a drug that parts of it are manufactured in China, shipped to Mexico. Mexico makes the remaining parts of that in their factories. They consolidate it into a product, and then they ship it across our borders. They're moving it in tons across our borders. Since the border's been open for the last couple of years, we've now seen fentanyl in Montgomery County. Several years prior, when the borders were much more restricted and controlled, we didn't really see it. Now that the borders are open, it's all over the United States, and it is probably in 90% of the overdoses. If you know now, they teach about Narcan. It was basically you put it in your nose, 2 sprays, and it clears that out of your system. That'll save you from the overdose. So our overdose deaths have gone up, but our ability to fix that has also gone up. And we started handing out Narcan. Officers carry Narcan in all the schools. We have Narcans in our cars a lot of times. The ambulances all have Narcan. So we find somebody in distress because they obviously made bad decisions in life, took some narcotics. We can usually save them if we get there soon enough. And you can also get it commercially available. It's very easy to use. But just know that it's out there. And the other thing, drug dealers don't work off. They don't have quality control on their drugs. They put together whatever they think is there in a capsule or a pill, and then they sell it to you, and they may claim it's Ritalin. They may claim it's Oxycontin. They may claim it's whatever, and it could have fentanyl in it. You just don't know. And they don't care. And nobody's regulating the drug traffickers. As far as pills and stuff like that, you can buy a pill press online on Amazon, put whatever you want in it, and make a pill and sell it. It could be anything. So when people are buying pills from people in the schools, you go to schools, you see friends selling pills and stuff like that, you don't know what that is. If it doesn't come out of a bottle you bought, it doesn't come from a family member you trust, it could be anything. And if it's fentanyl and there's enough of it, you're dead. There's nothing anybody can do about it if they don't know you took it, and you go off quietly someplace and it's all over. You don't get a second chance. You know, so if you have a need for medication, your family or your friends can get you legitimate medical needs through hospitals, clinics, and stuff like that. High schools and your neighborhood friend is not the way to go with the pharmaceutical route. I know that's not the greatest answer about things, but just remember, the only people that ultimately care about you in this world are the people sitting next to you, or they're in the same house with you. Your friends at high school, yeah, they're cool and they're tight and you're best people now, but when you move on to college or move on to their job, 90% of them you probably won't even keep communicating with or even know in a couple of years because you'll move on to different locations or whatever. Okay? Now, parents, this is something that the younger people are going to hate. You want to prevent 90% of your problems? When they come home at the end of the day, you make them greet you. How was your day? How did you do? What's going on with you? And you look them dead in the eye. If you don't know how your child acts when they're doing something wrong, you should. So if your child looks uncomfortable, then, hey, what's going on with you? And tell them up front, I'm not going to be angry with you, but I don't need you to lie to me. And whatever that problem is, maybe just had a bad day. Maybe say something wrong to them. But if you have that rapport and you have that knowledge, then if something does go wrong or they do start feeling pressure, you can help them with that. And here's the other thing. They can go to their friends and say, I have to see my parents at the end of my day, every day. If I drink, if I smoke, and I do drugs, my parents aren't stupid. They're going to know that. Peer pressure is an ugly animal. That's how a lot of kids get into drugs and stuff, because they're like, well, my friend's doing it, I'm going to do it. If you give them that opportunity, be their shield to say, hey, I got to check on my family at the end of the night. And if I do these things, they're going to know. And they're going to take my phone from me, or they're not going to let me out again. Give them that excuse. Give them that my parents are the bad people, I'm not. So you can give them that option to go, you know, I was uncomfortable with it, but me saying I don't want to do it isn't going to be enough for those friends because they're going to be like, you're weak or you're a coward, something like that. You give them that crutch. And also to help you become a stronger family because you talk to them every night. How was your day? What's going on? How are your grades? How are your friends? Are you doing okay? Okay? And then instance for man and woman and other, you should do that as well. You make a stronger bond out of it because then everybody communicates better. And communication is a huge failure with us because we have the phones now and we think that's good enough. It's not. You gotta look somebody in the face and have a real conversation with them. And it should be every time they come to the home so you know what they're bringing in. Sorrow, pain, fear, whatever. Those things lead to those bad decisions to get them into that world of drugs. Now, what do drugs look like? Where can drugs be? Endless, endless. They could look like candy, gummies, pills, wrappers, little things, little stickers you can lick. They're transdermal. They can go on your body. You know the nicotine patches? You know, people put on for nicotine and stuff like that. There's morphine patches. Basically, it's a patch. They have the drugs embedded in the patch. They put it against your skin, and it transdermally goes through your skin into your body and releases the chemicals in your body to help you fight nicotine or to give you pain relief. They've now embedded these patches with narcotics, and you can put them on there, or you could lick it, or they put LSD on it, and you put these little stickers on you, and it slowly reduces your body and gives you that high. So it is everywhere. You can Google it, it'll be endless. They hide it and conceal it everywhere, from Lego blocks that open up in secret compartments, to cans with false bottoms, to seams of your pants that have little pockets in it from the inside, designed to hide money, hide keys. You can also hide narcotics. It's everywhere. If you want an experience, you go down to Neville Street down here. There's a tobacco glass factory, actual glassmith, I guess, or whatever the glass technician is. And in there, they have all this product to hold tobacco products, right? And you'd be amazed. It's pens, it's cups, it's everything. I take my guys that I train, and I have them walk to the room and say, this is it. And there's dozens of items. So it's everywhere. So that's why you have to have that human connection. You have to talk to them. You have to understand what they're feeling. And guess what? It's your house, it's your car, it's your phone. You pay for everything. It's all yours. Maryland law requires you to provide 3 things for your children. The ability to go to school, some kind of food, doesn't say what quality, just says food, and some type of clothing, doesn't say what brand. That's really all you got to do. You can't obviously beat them and neglect them and stuff, That's it. Everything else is on your courtesy. The game systems, the computers, internet connection. That is you being a good person to your children and trying to help them out. That is not a requirement or a mandate. You don't have to give that stuff if it's going the wrong way for you. And the cars, they're your cars, you know? It's your internet. Remember that. You hold all the cards. You have the power. You just have to make sure that respect goes both ways. Okay? As far as their rooms, it's your room, not theirs. I get privacy. I get an understanding, okay? And I get respect. You know, you have to teach them that to be young people to get older. However, the decision-making ability of a 16-year-old to a 38-year-old is a huge difference, okay? And a young person's decision of what's okay and not a big deal is way different what another person thinks, okay? And the difference is if they bring it into your house. They bring it in with their bags. They bring it in with their friends. You have to have that conversation. If it's not okay in your house, it's just not okay. And this is why. And I tell people, never tell anybody out there, like, you're just dumb and no. You're going to shut them down. They're not going to respond to you. You have to go, I don't agree, and this is why. Or, even better yet, why did you do that? What was the good reason you had to do that? I guarantee you they won't come up with anything of worth, and then they'll realize, wow, this sounds dumb. And then you have that next conversation of, hey, let's not do that again. If you find stuff in your home, you don't necessarily need to call us, but you do need to have a conversation with the people in the home that you found it with. Okay? Now, if it's a gun or, you know, something significant, yeah, give us a call. You know, but if it's personal use and experimentation, that's a conversation the family needs to have. Why are you experimenting? What are you doing? What's going on? You know, why are we here? Okay, you don't need to call us and say, get them arrested and all that. No, you need to have that real conversation. Treat them like the adult, but expect them to be like the adult and own up to what they did and why. Okay? That's a lot. That's fast. I think there's a point where we wanted to ask some questions or have concerns or stuff like that. Was there... Because I'll open up to anything that anybody wants to ask about. Sure, go ahead. Oh, it's going back.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Officer. I do have some questions, but before I do that, the ushers told me in the back there are some handouts that you had brought. So handout, ngengamo til chungchang tuna at semba ka kanin adu tan chuanin lak tur omatia chu kan soidu loka chuanin. My question to you, Officer, it's Halloween time, right? So do you experience drugs hidden in Halloween candy during this time of year? Is that a problem?
We always tell families, trick-or-treating, you bring it home, tell them don't eat it while you're out there. I know it's tough, okay? Just look through it, you know, make sure nothing looks strange. You know, and again, it used to be the old adage, razor blades and all that stuff. But now they could put gummies, they could put pills, they think it's funny, stuff like that. So when in doubt, you know, even if you have to go to like a Walmart or Costco and buy some candy and be like, hey, great job, here, just take this bag. You know, and I'll take this stuff because I'm not sure about it. I would always inspect anything that is given to any family member that's not like you're buying it off a shelf. You know, you're going to a stranger's house and trusting and them being a decent human being. And you just read the news for 5 minutes and realize, unfortunately, there's plenty of people out there that aren't decent human beings. So I would always be cautious because regret is a terrible thing where effort is a much better thing.
Thank you. And one more question. Now, you talked about social media, being careful on social media. I know everybody here uses social media. So when necessary, the police will have access to people's social media. Do the media companies allow you access to personal social media accounts to see what posts you may have made?
Remember, when social media comes to that, your biggest concern should be the company you're giving all your stuff to. Okay? We as a government have to do search warrants and stuff like that to get into it. Facebook doesn't. They sell your stuff like crazy. Have a conversation in your house with Alexa and some other stuff around, and you start noticing all these commercials popping up on your phone about what you talked about yesterday. That's a big clue. Twitter, X now, Instagram, all that stuff. As far as us in searching your stuff, if you applied for us, we will look at your social media account. And if your social media account has a bunch of stuff that don't really fit with our moral compass, we won't hire you. Corporations now are doing that in a big way. They're looking at the videos, they're looking at the social media, Instagrams, Facebook, X, all that stuff. And if you're doing a bunch of stuff that doesn't fit in what the corporation wants, they're not going to hire you either. The other thing we do like, though, is the criminals love putting stuff on Instagram. We really appreciate that part because they'll put all their crimes they do on video and then they'll post it. And we just go find it and then go find them, and then they have a hard time explaining what we saw on video. But as far as interpersonal interaction on social media, I say to the people out there, you don't have friends on the internet. You do not have friends on Facebook. You don't have friends on Twitter. You don't have friends in all your games you play. Those are acquaintances. A friend is somebody you can sit down and have a meal with. A friend is somebody that will help you out. If you're talking to somebody in Romania, China, Brazil, that's great. That's an acquaintance. Okay, but that is not a friend. And I say that because we'll do more for a friend than we will an acquaintance. An acquaintance is somebody we talk to. A friend is somebody we trust and we give more information to. And I also say when that friend asks for pictures, when that friend asks for personal stuff, and you make a mistake and send it to them, calling me is not going to help get your pictures back. Because once you send those pictures out, they're gone. You know, I can't recover them, I can't fix them. And as far as in the more personal level, if you have a relationship with somebody and you decide for whatever reason to videotape that relationship and then you are no longer with that person, I can't get that back either. We get that question a lot too. Well, we made pictures that I'm not comfortable with people sharing, but now we're not together and he's mad at me or she's mad at me and they're sharing the pictures with all their friends. It's too late at that point. It's going to get shared. I'm sorry, it's going to be tough and it's going to be hard for you. So we recommend you don't do those things up front. It's a personal choice. If you want to do it, I get it, but just be careful. Yes, sir.
So when you take drugs, how long does that stay in your system? How long does that stay in your system?
The drugs? Okay, if you're talking, marijuana is a lot like alcohol. With the alcohol, if you have a drink, it takes about an hour to get out of your system as far as your effects. This is dependent on a lot of things. Have you drank before? Is this your first time? How heavy are you? How light are you? How much did you eat that day? How much water did you drink? These are all factors that may extend or shorten that effect. So it's basically one regular marijuana joint or one drink, it's approximately about an hour. The problem is when they made marijuana legal, everybody thought, well, I can just smoke 4 or 5 joints and drive. That's like having 4 or 5 beers. It's the same, your speed slows down, your focus is all over the page, your reaction time is slowed. It's just like alcohol. So marijuana and alcohol are very similar in effects. As far as like cocaine or the heroin or the cracks or meth, again, it comes down to height, weight, how often have you done it, is your first time or your regular user. Those tend to stay in your system a little bit longer. Now, as far as testing purposes for employment, it's months. So if you smoke or do any type of drugs and you go for a test for employment, it's going to be months before it gets out of your system, sometimes even 4 or 5 months. It depends on what drug it is and if it's in your system for a little bit longer. Now also back to the pills, every pill in the United States has a number on it. You can go to a website for poison control and you can put that number in, it'll tell you what's in that pill. So if you don't see a number on a pill, it's a fake pill. If you see a number that doesn't come up in the database, then it's a fake pill. Not that you should be taking pills that you don't buy yourself or get out of a bottle. Now, as far as carrying stuff, you have to carry it in those little orange bottles, the labels and the white labels. If it's not in that and it's in your pocket and I stop you, you can be locked up. Even if it's your medicine, it has to be in the bottle with your name on it. If it's not, it's considered illegally being transported. Is there any other questions? Sir.
If I'm not mistaken, I heard that from your speech that literally it's available everywhere, the drugs. So thank you for first these handouts, and Is there any source information resources which would be useful for our kids so that they can have healthy and useful information, practical information for thank you.
Resourcing for what we do, I typically go to NIH. NIH puts out a lot of stuff on it. So if you just go to the NIH website and look up whatever drug, they're going to talk about the metallurgical effects and how it affects your body and stuff like that. Okay? So I always try to go to the scientists to get those answers. So NIH is a big one for us. So just go there and look. And the sad thing is the young people have the most ability to search anything in the world compared to us having to go to a library, and they don't use Google half as much. I'd be amazed how many people ask me, I'm like, you've got a computer in your pocket. Why aren't you looking stuff up, and always get a couple sources. People get one article and they're like, oh, it's the fact. You're like, keep reading, because that person could be an idiot. You got to kind of measure it. Was there something over here? Did you have a question?
Yes, my question was, when your friend is in that situation, he overdosed, what should we do?
Okay, if you have somebody that's a friend of yours that you know is a user and you decided to stay as friends with them and you come across a situation where they're unconscious, first thing you want to do is make sure they're still breathing. Make sure their airway is there. An airway, think about if you're laying down and your head's flat, your airway's open. If they're hunched down or off to the side, you can choke it out. So try to get his airway open immediately. If it's not, call 911. You are never going to get in trouble. There could be drugs everywhere. He could have drugs in him. You didn't do any of that. And if you call us and I get there, you are not in trouble. It's called a Good Samaritan law. You can call for the ambulance. They'll come. I might come. We'll get the drugs out that are there that aren't supposed to be there. We'll get the person to get help in the hospital, and we'll take care of them. Okay, if you leave the person and they die, and they find out you were there and didn't call, now you're in trouble because you left somebody to die, basically, that you didn't have to because you weren't going to get in trouble. They won't even get in trouble because they just simply overdosed. Okay, now maybe they'll get help. We're going to recommend counseling, but nobody's getting in trouble. That was a good question, by the way, whoever asked that one. I got something else. Here you go, buddy.
Can alcohol or drugs get expired? If they do, what do expired drugs or alcohol do to you?
The alcohol that's expired tastes really bad. I've had an occasion. It still has the same fermentation. Alcohol is alcohol. There's like moonshine. If you go to different cultures and communities, stuff ferments for a long time, and it usually makes it stronger. As far as the drugs, you talk to the scientists via the pharmaceutical companies, via the marketing people. If you look at everything you own in America, it's got an expiration date on it. That's not necessarily completely accurate. It means they want you to buy their stuff again. And if they don't put an expiration date on it, you're never going to get a new thing. And to some extent, yes, if it's kept in the sun and it's exposed, it'll break down. But stuff tends to last longer than expiration date, with the exception of food. That's a pretty solid rule if the expiration date of food is bad. But as far as a pill, it will lose its potency over time, but it's still going to have the same effects and ability per se. So yeah, if it's like 3 or 4 years old, and it's only supposed to last a couple of years, you're still going to get some contributing. You're still going to get some effects to your body off of it. Not as potent probably as a very fresh one, but it's still going to have some factors. And I just want to put out, if you call us, that doesn't mean you're going to get in trouble. That doesn't mean we're locking anybody up. We'll be glad to come to any situations you have as a community and try to work through whatever you need to work through, whether it's a neighbor dispute, drug concerns, domestics, any of that stuff. We're not here to be your enemy. We're here to help out the community move forward. We're here to help the community be the best community it can be. We're here to help educate everybody as best we can on our lane of knowledge. We only know our piece, and then let you take that back and make it work for you as a group or a community to make your group a little bit better if you can. The more educated people are, they tend to make better decisions in life. That's not always true, but the hope is it's that way, so we try to put more information out if we can. And another thing, I know crime is starting to become a concern and an issue. I also will come to your private residence and I will go through your house with you, window by window, door by door, and talk about how to make your home safer, how to protect your family a little bit better. It's a free thing we do. We've been doing it for a lot of the synagogues over the last couple of weeks because obviously, if you read the news, a lot of stuff's going on. We've visited every synagogue and facility out there and looked, as well as the Muslims' facilities, and tried to make them a little bit safer with cameras and lettering and stuff like that. We do that for all businesses and residents for free in Montgomery County. If you want it, my contact information is with the young lady back there. I'll be glad to come out to anybody's home, help them out, or any questions you have as well. I think there was another question somewhere, or no?
Yeah, I have one over here. So I was wondering, when is the right time to talk about, I have kids in middle school. So when
Oh, yeah, middle school, definitely.
Definitely.
Definitely. Because maturity level in middle school is like this huge chasm. You run into that 7th grader that's like, wow, you're so smart, and you run into other ones that are like running into walls. You don't know what you're going to get. But unfortunately, the internet's there. And you have 2 choices. You can teach them a way, or the internet can teach them a way. The internet way is probably going to be the dumb way. So you want to have that conversation sooner than later, because if they're online with games, those apps all have chat features. Those chat features have potential predators out there, and you have to have that conversation. So we're going to sidebar with that one. There are 40 and 50-year-old men that sit on games that are played by 9 and 12-year-old little girls. They learn how to speak like a 12-year-old little girl, and then they give them free stuff in the game to become their friend. And then they start asking things that a young person's not going to understand, they shouldn't be. So you as a family with children should be looking at the games and what they're on, and see who their friends are on those games. And then go, who's this person? Who's Smiley75? Oh, he's some guy that gives me free stuff. Why is he giving you free stuff? Oh, we're friends. Okay, hang on. And that's where those conversations come from. Did he ever ask you for anything? Why is he your friend? Because that's not, we don't just give things away to other people without an expectation of return. And that, as an adult, you understand if it's a younger person, that return may not be good. But I would start in middle school, to be honest with you. Because if they're on phones and they're on computers, they're already picking up knowledge that you don't have control of. So you want to be another source of information that's trusted and reliable, because they already think what they're getting off the internet is trusted and reliable, and it may not necessarily be that way.
And one more thing is, supposing a teenager get caught doing drugs, and what effect can he have on his, job application, driver's license, and all the other stuff?
If it's in a vehicle, and it's under the influence, you can be charged. Basically, it's like DWI, only for drugs. It's the same thing. There's DWI under alcohol, and then there's influence of a narcotic. Now, marijuana will fall under that. And basically, you're going to pay a lot of money to a lawyer who's going to help you get a lowered plea deal, and then it's going to be on your system for a while. And an employer can pull that record up and go, oh, what's this? Do you have a drug problem? Do you have an alcohol problem? Do I want to hire you? On the other side, say it's just you're not in a car, but you get stopped. Big Brother loves tracking. We have data. Like when I stop you in your car, I can see any violation you've done in the entire state of Maryland. If you've been stopped anywhere, I know about it. So when I'm asking you, you ever been stopped before? I already know what that answer is going to be. So that's where you go, oh yeah, and not the, oh no. And you're like, all right, well, you're lying to me. And it just takes the conversation down the wrong way. It's like that for everything now. Criminal histories under 18 or juvenile, that should be sealed. 18 and over, it's going to be there. And 18 over, I can find it. So can a company. Because they hire retired cops that know where the systems are and say, go find out what's going on. Now, if the job market's tight and there's 10 of you and 3 of you have a criminal record and 7 don't, who are you going to hire? So that's why I make that, that whole good decision, have those conversations. You want to go to college, right? You want to go here, right? And when they go to college, oh, it's all off. Drugs are just insane. The stuff, it's just crazy. You got to have that baseline before you get to college. Because once you get to college, it's like a whole different world. And Uber and Lyft has helped reduce DWIs amongst the teenage population. They used to go to the big parties, they had to drive. Uber and Lyft has kind of cleared a lot of that up because they just do Uber and Lyft everywhere. Now, on the flip side, when we hire people, they can't drive. We've had to fail a ton of applicants because they just started driving 6 months ago because they Uber and Lyfted all the way through college. And then going to a police academy and trying to drive 100 miles an hour is not the time to learn that one. We typically had 8 or 9 years of driving experience before we got into jobs like that. They have like 8 months. Who would think that this would be an issue, but for us it is. Fire department's the same way, because you got those big trucks you got to drive. Anything with a question? Anybody under? Well, we had one young person ask a question. I know the rest of you guys have questions, but you don't want to ask, that's cool. But if you have anything, you sure? Nothing? You good? Look at that. She spoke up. Guys, come on in the back. Nothing? All right. All right. Anybody else? Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks for having me. Okay.
To officer.